just see these different individuals coming into these different spaces and dominating that. And I am just wondering, why have we not seen that same thing from Gen Z?
We need your help! We need your help, man. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button and joined our community, do it now. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear our latest stories and strategies.
Plus, subscribing helps us grow and reach more people just like you. It's a win-win. Your support means the world to us, and it motivates us to keep leveling up our game.
Don't forget, hit the notification bell too, all right? You're always going to be in the loop with the new episodes drop. We release new content every Thursday at noon Eastern.
So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button now. And let's continue this journey together.
Thanks for all your support, everyone. We can't wait to see where this journey takes us next.
Until next time.
Peace.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Level Up with Larry and Leo, where we turn trials and opportunities and dreams into reality. I'm Larry, and here is the co-host, Leo, and we have something we want to talk about, and I think it's interesting, and y'all let us know what you think. How you doing, Leo?
Bro, I'm blessed while stressed. Sometimes the blessing comes with stressing.
And amen. All right, so this is my argument. So we've been talking a lot about the election. What we haven't really discussed as much, because that's not really something that is in the headlines, is we have another old president. Bro's like 78, right? Isn't Donald Trump like 78?
Okay, boomer. Yep, he is.
He's like close. So we have another old president who actually I noticed signs of decline during his campaign. So we have another old president. And when I look around the landscape of society, and sometimes I just kind of go deep while Leo is on his phone.
I was looking up how old he is because I wanted to be correct.
Good,
man, 78.
So we have another old president, and on neither side of the aisle, neither of the political divide, Democrat or Republican, you don't really see that many emerging leaders entering into the space of politics. But then when you go beyond even politics, we can go into the church world, right? How many Gen Z pastors do we see sort of emerging on the scene? Not many. Not the way that we would see. I would say I can go back to like 2012, 2008 to 2012 era, right? Where you see young people in their 20s sort of emerging on the scene, whether it's Zuckerberg with Facebook, right? And then you had even like young leaders in the church space sort of emerging on the scene and starting campuses. Like one guy I can remember back in that sort of time frame was like Mark Driscoll, right? This young guy, very brash, very out there, but he was very big during that era. And then even like if we look at athletes, and this is going to spark a conversation. I remember when I was young, when LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony both coming into the league at the same time. And there was already Kobe, like that was dominating. You had Shaq, you had these different larger than life characters that dominated the space. It wasn't even just one. There were these different individuals who just dominated the space. You could say the same about football. You could say the same about the tech world. You can say the same about all of these different things. In politics, 2008, that's when Obama steps on the scene. He wasn't in his 20s, but he was young when it came to politics, and he took the political landscape by storm. You just see these different individuals coming into these different spaces and dominating that. And I am just wondering, why have we not seen that same thing from Gen Z? Why haven't we seen people from Gen Z? And I know there are a few, I'm not saying there's none, but it just does not feel as dominant as it once was. And I'm just curious why. What do you think?
Bro, I hate to break it to you, man. You're that old man now. You're quick.
I am not even old though.
But you stepping into that mind frame. Back in my day, when I was about 08 to 2012, bro, the same thing is happening, bro. Because you got to think about it. This is my take. I think the same thing is happening, but it's different. So we don't recognize it. You don't recognize it. Like, bro, right now, when you look at sports, you look at Lamar and look at the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs,
Patrick
Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
What generation are they? When you look at sports, you have.
I know Jackson. He's Gen X, so he's an exception, right? So Mahomes, I think, is millennial though.
You think?
I'm gonna check.
Go ahead and research that. But my point is, the same thing is happening when you look at the players in Boston. When you look at Brown and Tatum, like
Mahomes is millennial. He's 29. He's a millennial.
Barely by 2 years. Okay, you can have Mahomes, but Lamar is definitely that next generation. What I'm trying to get at is, bro, you're on the verge of being old man. Back in my day, I think the leaders in that generation look different. And another thing is, I think that all the leaders that we've seen, they were on the scene and they were being given more space in terms of their reach back then, because we had like legitimately maybe 4 avenues of being reached, which was radio, TV, newspapers and magazines. It was limited. And when you got that person, but right now it's segmented a lot more. Not only there's multiple platforms on social media, there's multiple niches in social media and streaming. And if you want one particular type of content, one particular type of person, you're going to receive that and you're not going to see anything else. So it's harder for the leader to be as impactful or as well known, because the people that are getting what they're getting are going to get what they want. Like if you grew up like listening to TD Jakes, you would still encounter Miles Monroe. You'd still encounter Joyce Myers. You'd still encounter like other people through that same avenue. But right now, if you want it, you could get just straight that diet.
I think one of the reasons why we haven't seen it as much is because the route towards success doesn't look the same anymore. If you were to be a great emerging leader, you would end up maybe, let's say, in the church space, you're going to end up on TBN. You're going to go and try to get published with a major publication. You're going to go to some of the major conferences, and that was the way that your name
stepped on the scene.
So there are certain gatekeepers that you would kind of go through to navigate your platform growing. But it's not the same way. If I want to be an influencer, I just start a YouTube channel and create buzz. and I can do that. But is it possible that maybe the next generation doesn't care about disrupting these different industries or entering into these spaces? They're more like, we don't need to go through those same routes like the previous generation did.
I think what you said is true. Like a lot of gatekeepers have been eliminated, and instead of, hey, we're going to allow you access through our portal, it's, oh man, he's created this audience in this platform, or she's created this audience in this platform that we will need. Let's bring them on. Like, people aren't in the realm of cultivating and growing, and lack of a better word, grooming an artist or a politician. That took years, right? And that took time. Now it's oh, you got it going on. You got a little buzz. You got a platform. You got something to say. Let's blow it up. And a lot of times they're not prepared for that, and you'll see them rise and fall quicker than in times past. But I think when it comes to leadership, some of the things are still the same. You're still seeing people grow and mature and feed their audience, but now the audience is more like niche, and a lot of times that's, they're more refined in what they're saying, but also they may not be as well known, that have millions and millions of followers and true followers in terms of their philosophy and what they're doing that you and I have never heard of.
The algorithm, like, it's not showing me that, so I'm not obviously
giving you more of what you already get, because its whole goal is to keep you on the platform. So it's going to give you things on the platform that will continue to push you to stay on longer and longer. And if I'm getting something from someone, I don't know them, unless they're speaking to what fits into my little bracket, then I'm not gonna encounter them.
Ourselves, like, we're still even gonna try to get news or updates from legacy channels. Like, I'm still gonna check with ESPN. I'm still gonna go to some of these more older stations to get my news, because that's what I grew up with. So I still sort of look to those places to get sort of updates from it. I guess one thing that sparks that and what makes me curious around that is, with this new way of doing things, this new wave, right? And as technology continues to develop, like, AI is just going to continue to get better and better. I guess my question or my fear or my concern is, where do these younger people go to get developed now? Because with things being so easy, where do they go to get developed, to be prepared for some of these positions that seem vacant at the moment? Like, a lot of these things do are vacant. There is a lack of across there is no industry that is not affected by that. And you might say, oh no, there's some serious ballers out here, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but I am saying at the level that we were used to a young player coming into the league and taking the league over and going even beyond that realm, their name recognition. You cannot be a fan of basketball and still know who Kobe is. That's what made his death so impactful. Like, he died and the entire world literally stopped.
A lot of people got exposed the same way. And right now it's not, like, if you find the right segment, Anthony Edwards is like the next coming of MJ combined with LeBron. Like, that, you can't tell them anything else. And the same, I'm sure if you go in Memphis fans, they feel like Ja is like AI remixed and on.
He reminds me of Derrick Rose. He reminds me of Derrick Rose. Prime.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that, yes, it feels like a void, but it's just being delivered in a different way. Instead of you getting your nutrition from this one source, instead of a baby getting it from the umbilical cord, now you got to get it from all different food groups. And some people just specialize in one food group that they get their nutrition from.
I'm not trying to be old man. I'm not trying to give like old man vibes. I am just saying, from this next generation, we're both raising kids in this next generation. I'm not raising Gen Z, but I am raising Gen Alpha, and I'm sure the same applies to them. But I'm just saying, in general, is there a lack of work ethic that is causing that void as well?
You know what? I thought long and hard about this. Work looks different now than it did back then. And my question is, did the previous generation think we were lazy? Because if you remember, before us to write a paper and have citations,
right,
you would have to go to the library.
Yep.
You would have to know how to find a book. I remember learning how to look up a book and how to find what section it's in, what you know, all that stuff. They did that in preparing their papers. We didn't. And they thought, oh, y'all lazy.
Yeah.
Y'all could just click on.
You go to the database.
Yeah.
I remember right there at USF, going to the database, finding the citations for whatever research I'm doing.
That could be thought of, y'all lazy. Y'all not putting in the level of work that we're doing. And I think a lot of that is similar to now. A lot of that stuff is being used with AI.
Like
AI is putting in all this information.
ChatGPT to write your whole paper in the right format and just copy and paste it.
No, but you still have to check on ChatGPT's work.
Yeah.
That's still work that has to be done. It's just now done differently. And you could call that lazy. You could call that efficiency. It just looks different. And listen. And there is a group of humans behind ChatGPT, and there's people that are learning AI technology, AI programming, and even learning how to put in AI prompts, like a science in and of itself, how to prompt the AI to give you the information that you're looking for. It's just different. And, we could define it as lazy, but I just think it's different. And because it's different than what we're used to, we think this generation is lazy. Yes, this generation spends a lot more time in front of a screen. Bro, I agree. But I don't know if we could call it lazy.
I can see the Gen X talking about millennials and saying you're lazy for X, Y, and Z. It's a whole nother level now. Okay, now you got to go on the computer and just put your citations in, blah, blah, blah. It still took me 3 or 4 days to write the paper. It's not like but now what took me 3 or 4 days can literally take me 3 or 4 minutes.
Yes, but then you have to check the paper.
Yeah.
That's if you don't check the paper.
10 more minutes. Oh man. What a huge it literally took you 0 thinking power at all to do it.
Not 0. Because
okay,
you have to give it the right prompt. I'm just saying the work looks different.
But after a while, once you learn the right prompts, then it's just you can autopilot it. Like, all right, now do this. Now give me this paper. Now give me that paper. Okay, and then they say the professors, you're able to tell. Even if you're able to tell, I can just allow AI to start what I'm doing, and then maybe do a little bit of things, but
refining it and making it more into
but it's not going to take me 3 or 4 days to refine it. It's going to take me maybe an hour. It's way different. Way different. And
but I don't think you can call that lazy though.
I'm not gonna necessarily call it lazy, but I do know that now there is where do young people? We talked about this before with the Jermaine Dupri thing, right? Where it came to the artists and where they went to develop their skills. Where do these kids go now to develop their skills? Because college isn't going to do that for them. They can literally AI themselves right to a master's and doctorate degree. College doesn't do that. And the young people aren't in church. Where do you go to develop the skills necessary to be a next great person or a next great leader, speaker?
I think where that falls in is mentorship, which I think is not going to go away. Mentorship is going to continue to be important.
Probably even more now.
Into every generation. And the ability to help someone navigate unfamiliar spaces in technology. My experience with this generation, because I volunteer coach a basketball team. My experience with this generation is because they're so used to seeing highlights, like everything on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube is highlights of people's career, people's moves, people's businesses. And because of that, when one experiences failure, they begin to ascribe that to themselves. Like, oh, I failed, so I must be a failure, instead of seeing the failure as an event that happened, but that it is necessary to be who you dream of becoming. And I had to tell that to the players, like the player that you imagine yourself in your mind, the entrepreneur that you imagine yourself in your mind, the business owner that you imagine in your mind, the whatever it is, the doctor that you imagine yourself being in your mind. The end result, in order to get there, you're going to have to navigate through failure. And it's going to be public. It's going to be private. There might be self-doubt. But what you have to be is of a growth mindset, which is something that we talked about a few episodes ago, to know that this occurrence will not define me. And for someone to really obtain that and to be there, I think they need a mentor to guide them and say, look, that's going to happen. You're going to fail. Your first business might not work out. You might not make $1 million your first year. Your first deal might fail, and you might lose $10,000, $20,000, $100,000. But you'll learn something that will propel you forward and help you develop into what it is that you imagine yourself being. We don't see that anymore. And if this generation continues to only see highlights, then it's gonna be,
and that's YouTube, right? Like like people create these videos like what we're doing now. We post edit, so anything that we don't want to be in there is not going to be in there.
Exactly.
And that's what they're seeing. They're just seeing these edited versions of reality, but not the real thing. And the reality is, most of the things that you want in life, most of the successes come from boring repetition. It's not exciting. Mm-mm. It's not exciting to wake up early to go and work out. It's not exciting to invest, right? Yeah. It's not exciting to do anything. Like, it's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's boring.
And sometimes it could be flat out fear jarring, like anxiety producing type activity. I was just talking to someone about, I had to come to a point where I understood the difference between investing and spending, because both of them are scary to me just from my upbringing. And I have to reprogram my mind into saying, no, that's not spending, that's investing, right? Because the money in the account going out looks the same, but there's going out to sow a seed and to invest in something, and then there's going out to spend and enjoy, and that thing doesn't come back. So, but in order to get there, I needed a mentor. I need someone to be able to tell me, hey, look, it's gonna look bad for a little bit, but it's part of the process, and to keep on going, and don't pull on the cord to bail out. Because the you 5 years from now is going to thank you for hanging in there, because that's when you're going to begin to reap the rewards of how you're feeling right now. And I think that's what this generation needs, and that's what this generation is lacking, both in politics. You could go everywhere, yeah, because we're in the instant gratification generation, and we're in the instant success generation, where if I do something 2 or 3 times and I'm not seeing like great results and growing by leaps and bounds, I'm bailing, because in my mind, it's only supposed to be, boom, boom. That's how I see everybody do it. Oh, I'm going to invest and I'm going to get these fleet of cars. I'm going to start renting them. And I get 1 or 2 cars and they're not renting like the person that told me that they were going to rents for. Or I get these Airbnbs and I'm not generating the amount of money that I thought I was going to generate the first year. I'm going to go ahead and bail out and sell. When it takes you time to grow and cultivate and become what you imagine in your mind, it doesn't happen instantly. And it's going to take Generation X to mentor the millennials. Now millennials have to mentor this next generation into saying, hey, this is going to take a minute. And what you're seeing are not highlights. And we talked about it last week or a couple episodes ago. I'm seeing a pivot in even how social ads are being produced, where now people are starting with the negative or the failure, because that's catching people's attention now, because now all the highlights, people are going past it. Now they're like, oh, don't do this. And then they'll go into it and they're really actually telling you to do that thing, but they'll start out with don't do this, because now people are looking for that.
I've actually mentoring opportunities presented to me, like where I would mentor a younger person who's maybe in college or just graduated, through some of my clients. Like I remember actually a client, I did her website. She's actually based in Tampa as well. Her son, I guess, just graduated with a marketing degree and is trying to figure out, how to get clients and different things, like trying to do it. And you can tell just based off my interaction with them. And I actually did a mentor, like I did a call with him, nothing formal, with this young kid in Toronto. And a similar thing, tech background, trying to figure out how to start their career and things of that sort. And you can kind of tell they're overwhelmed with all of the things that are going on in a very in a space that's constantly moving, and they value just that very specific direction. Just do this. Right? Because a lot of times you have so many different things, you don't really know which one to do. So finding somebody, so it seems like coaching and mentoring are going to somehow fill the void of these institutions that are kind of dying off. Like we talked about college. Now, I'm not saying college is going away, but I think we're realizing how limited of a resource it really is from an institutional standpoint.
This is just my personal opinion. I think college is going to pivot like it has in the past, and the degrees are going to be more application based, not as much theory, because a lot of people are not going to go to college when I could get hired by these top companies with just a certificate in this applicable skill. Hey, I could code for AI. I could code for this particular type of game. I could, so I could know, hey, I speak this language.
Yeah.
Like that specific is what I already see some of the shift in the educational realm. They're giving people
they don't have a choice.
short term, like, hey, 6 months, 12 months, you're in there doing this. And even something as complicated as nursing, they're giving path to nursing, where if you have your associates, you could get your bachelor's in X amount of time. And it's all, well, not all, but a lot of it is field-based learning to help you elevate your career. Because sitting back and studying theory and then having to go into the actual field and learn it again, people ain't down for that no more.
And other institutions too. In fact, now that I think about it, we might want, I have another idea for a reaction video that we can do after we do this one, but it's around church and why people aren't going to church.
Yeah.
And they gave 3 reasons, but one, the last one that I found that was really interesting was the fact that people are basically they are filling the spiritual void, like through self-application. In the same way, like if you're going to a doctor's appointment and you have these symptoms, you're going to Google those symptoms, right? You're going to Google what those symptoms are. Same with your car. If there's an issue with your car, you're going to Google whatever thing you're dealing with to figure out.
And when the mechanic tells you it's going to cost this much, you're going to Google, okay, how much should this cost?
Right. And you can get the price at advance to know if that's the real price or if you can do it yourself, or et cetera, et cetera. And the same is kind of being done with spiritual growth. Instead of going to a church that you don't really see the value in, right? Or you may, and that was one point too, like that's going to be a great video. Like I may not even touch on all of this. All of these legacy institutions are being met with a generation that no longer feels like they are necessary. And we are, and I can, in one area, I can really say, all right, cool. I see why Gen Z wouldn't want to do it. I can see why a Gen Z guy wouldn't want to start a church now. Why would I want to go through all that headache if I can build a church, if I can build a following on YouTube? Get supporters, literal supporters on YouTube. And I just go live a couple of times a week, and I don't have to have a building. I don't have to have staff. I don't have to have no overhead. I can just preach, do my thing, and go on about my life. And I can mentor people digitally. Like, it makes sense. And in my estimation, you probably should try online before you even do it in person. Build your audience that way, and then once you start, then you already have like a following.
Like I said, I disagree with you that leadership is going. I just think it's presented differently. I think it's being developed differently, and I think now is the generation that before, because technology is sewn into the fabric of our lives, that getting a one-on-one mentor coach is absolutely necessary for your further development and navigating through where to get wherever you're going.
We reacted to Trump becoming president, and we talked a little bit about how disappointed the campaign from Kamala was. And I listened to a few other people kind of diagnose what went wrong, and what they said, and this is a great point for a lot of industries, but they said that the playbook that the Democrats used was the same old playbook that they've been doing for decades. Think about this, bro. This is what's wild. What's his name? Joe Rogan reached out to Kamala's campaign and tried to offer her the same interview they did for Trump. Kamala said she was too busy. She literally had the same opportunity to speak with the largest podcast on the planet. I heard multiple people, like I know Dave Ramsey did an interview with Trump. They said they reached out to Kamala's camp and they never heard back. So what Trump really did was he was on all of the major platforms getting interviewed. That was one of the major things that he did that differentiated himself from Kamala's campaign.
I mean, I don't know what all went on. I don't know what type of lead time they had in terms of the invitation. I don't know. President Obama ran his first campaign. He totally blew everybody out the water with how much he raised from individual donors, and how great his ground game was in terms of the door knocking and the signature getting and all that.
And they were saying
the same way they did it digitally. Trump campaign did it digitally by doing sweepstakes for voters, doing all these podcasts, knowing that, back in the day, you could do a town hall and reach people. But now people aren't tuning into the town hall as much as they're tuning into podcasts A, B, and C. So don't not do the town hall, but do the town hall and do the podcast, because there's a generation that's still watching linear TV and they're more invested into, voting. They're more consistent voting block, but you're also not running this campaign for this campaign. You're running this campaign for the future and growing your tent, your people, your audience that'll be there in 4 years and 8 years and 12 years. So don't just be so, focused on, hey, I got to win this election. But yes, you got to win this election, but you also have to build for the future.
Yeah, and I can see why she may not have wanted to go on to like the right leaning. There were other platforms that weren't right leaning that she could have.
She went to Shay Shay
late.
Yeah, she went to the club, but late. Yeah, but
I'm talking more young people too. Like, go to some of these younger guys. These big platforms that are more.
Yeah, they lost the young vote big.
That was the part. Like, I mean, Shay Shay isn't really for young people. Find those young platforms, like with those younger people that you can go and let them. That was a huge miss out, but hey, whatever. I don't really want to get into that, but I think it was a good episode. You think kind of interesting?
Let us know what you think, man. Is leadership dead, or has it just been remixed and changed and it appears different?
Give us a like, a comment, just hit us up, let us know what you think. And still got to give a shout out to the sponsors, Next Level Media Marketing, as well as Curb and Key Realty. Definitely reach out to us for any of those marketing, or real estate needs. And until next time, talk to y'all soon.
Peace. You see how sweet this is?
But you know what's really sweet?
You subscribing.
Subscribe now.
Peace.